Hi everyone, and welcome to The Vintage Company. I'm Julie and I'm a business historian. And normally I talk about the history behind a vintage consumer product or an advertisement. But today I want to do something a little different and challenge myself a little bit. So I'm going to let fate decide the topic for this video. So I went online and I ordered a vintage mystery ad off of Etsy, with the only stipulation being that I wanted it to be Halloween themed because 'tis the season. And what I ended up with is this, a 1941 advertisement for Kellogg's Rice Krispies featuring a recipe for Rice Krispies Marshmallow Squares. So today I'm going to be sharing a little bit about the history of Kellogg's Rice Krispies and Rice Krispie Treats, as well as trying a Halloween Rice Krispie Treat recipe out for myself. So let's get started. Kellogg's first introduced Rice Krispies in 1928. Made of crisped rice, the cereal was described in early advertisements as so different. Entirely different in taste, shape, and flavor. Imagine it. Golden bubbles of whole rice, toasted till they're airy crisp, so extra crisp you'll actually hear them crackle when you pour milk or cream. Rice Krispies were also not limited to breakfast. Kellogg's urged consumers to try them at lunch and in the kitchen, fine to put in soups, to use in candies and macaroons in place of nut meats. Rice Krispies would soon become a household name and a signature brand for Kellogg's, aided by 3 sounds and 3 spokes characters. By 1929, Kellogg's was making reference to the iconic snap, crackle, and pop sounds as a song of crispness, made by Rice Krispies when milk or cream was added. The crackling sound is actually caused by the crispy parts of each puffed rice breaking open as the milk causes the kernel to expand. When well-known artist Vernon Grant heard the song of crispness on a radio ad for Rice Krispies, he was inspired to create a gnome-like character for each sound. He approached Kellogg's with the sketches, and in 1933, Mr. Snap, Mr. Crackle, and Mr. Pop began appearing in national Rice Krispies campaigns. According to Grant, Snap, Crackle, and Pop made Rice Krispies famous. He recalled, "When I took the Rice Krispies account, it was one of several Kellogg cereals near the bottom in sales. After a year, Rice Krispies was second from the top." Vernon Grant continued to work at Kellogg's until a dispute over payment for Grant's work and the ownership of Snap, Crackle, and Pop in the early 1940s. A legal battle ensued, and Grant lost the rights to his characters and his job, though he would have a long career creating art for cards, magazine covers, and other advertisements. Perhaps not coincidentally, Snap, Crackle, and Pop underwent a makeover after this time period, and their facial features became less gnome-like, looking more like the Rice Krispies spokes characters we know today. As for Rice Krispie Treats, recipes for Krispies Marshmallow Squares began to appear in advertisements and on boxes of Rice Krispies in 1940. The original recipe called for butter, vanilla, marshmallows, and of course Rice Krispies. Unsweetened chocolate, coconut, and nut meats were all recommended additions to the basic recipe. The use of the name Rice Krispies Marshmallow Squares for the recipe fell out of favor beginning in the 1950s and was replaced by Rice Krispies Treats or Rice Krispie Treats. As we can see in our 1941 ad, Rice Krispies Marshmallow Squares were a treat for all occasions, including Halloween. Kellogg's described the ooey gooey marshmallow dessert as an easy-to-make Halloween treat. Bewitch the family appetites with this delicious taste thrill. Only 10 minutes to make, and so inexpensive. And this would hardly be the last time that ads for Rice Krispies Treats would make an appearance at Halloween. Which leads us to our next ad for Jack-o'-lantern treats from 1982, which includes a recipe for making and decorating pumpkin-shaped Rice Krispie Treats. And today I'm going to try to make them. The only major hurdle I see is that this recipe calls for a then new type of Rice Krispies, Marshmallow Krispies cereal, which no longer exists. Introduced in 1982, Marshmallow Krispies was later removed from markets in the early 1990s. So I'm going to need to add colorful dehydrated marshmallow bits to our regular Rice Krispies so that we can be consistent with the original. The first step is to melt 1/4 cup butter. You then add 4 cups of mini marshmallows or 1 package of regular marshmallows. Once the marshmallow is melted and smooth, you remove from heat and add 5 cups of Marshmallow Krispies. Since I don't have Marshmallow Krispies, I'm adding regular Rice Krispies and my dehydrated marshmallows that I bought online. And then mix until Rice Krispies are incorporated and pour into a pan lightly coated with cooking spray. The 1982 recipe doesn't explicitly say anything about letting them cool, but a lot of videos I've watched recommend that you let the Rice Krispies set for about 10 minutes before you begin molding them. Right away, I really like how colorful these are. You could definitely make this recipe with regular Rice Krispies, but the dehydrated marshmallows are more fun. Now comes the best part, shaping the Rice Krispie treats into pumpkins. This was actually really easy to do, although I definitely feel like I strayed from the directions here because the recipe only called for 5 pumpkins and I made 6. My stems are also shorter than the ones pictured in the ad because I was working from memory rather than thinking about matching the advertisement, but they do look like pumpkins, so I think we'll be okay. For decorating, I made buttercream frosting for the first time, which tasted amazing, but wasn't quite as smooth or easy to work with as I wanted. If I try this again, I might use canned frosting instead. If you have any tips for frosting or decorating, let me know in the comments. And here's how they turned out. I always think that I'm good at decorating or icing things until I actually decorate or ice something, and remember that I'm definitely not. But I think the first one I made, which looks like a traditional pumpkin, is my favorite. I also like this spooky jack-o'-lantern that's a closer match to the one pictured in the ad. The smiley face jack-o'-lantern is probably my least favorite, but it's also probably the closest match to the Rice Krispies ad. I also made some that weren't quite as traditional, like a ghost, a tombstone, and Frankenstein's monster. The last thing I'll note is that they weren't exactly the easiest thing to eat, given their size and all that frosting, but they were delicious. All in all, these were really fun and easy to make, and I could definitely see this being a good Halloween activity for kids, or if you made them a little smaller, they'd be a good treat for a Halloween party. I'll put the recipe in the description below. Let me know if you give them a try and how it turns out. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and you would like to see me talk about other vintage consumer products or try other vintage recipes, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing below. Thank you again, and I hope to see you next time.